Hello and welcome into another edition of the Sun Belt Syndicate. Thanks for sticking out with us for throughout most of football season, and as we start basketball season here, we won't quite talk basketball on this show, Marv. It looks like not the greatest of starts for most of our teams, unfortunately. I've been watching the league as much as possible, definitely scoreboard heavy in this early part of the season when we're still heavy into football and a lot of stuff going on, but yikes. Had a couple teams do well.
We're going to the game tomorrow night.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Remind me who they're playing.
Elon. Old
App
Southern.
State and Elon.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Well, and they just beat Charlotte up there on the weekend, so that was a good start. And App State rounded it up by beating the Marshall Thundering Herd, but I'm still supporting because I met up with Russ Livinggood from the Thundercast podcast, and I got to meet up with the Armchair Mountaineer guys again real quick. That was within the stadium. I got to see Marv in person again for first time in a little while. I actually sat with Seth as well from the 3B, the baseball show. So it was cool. I got to see quite a few people. Weirdly enough, for I think the third time that TJ and I have been at the same football game, we didn't meet up in person. It's weird how that happens, but typically he's got like field level access and he's up and inside the north end zone and the other tower. So it's always kind of hard to. Yeah, he's a little more important. He gets to go places I don't get to go, unless I had a media pass, but I wasn't credentialed for this. So anyways, just wanted to give a quick shout out to all the people I got to meet up with, have a good time. Actually had the first opportunity to try the pedaling pig. I'm going to shout out Russ. He's started another Twitter X handle, whatever you want to call it, that's going to be like following or partaking in like the food of each Sunbelt area that he goes to. He's done this already, without an account. Now he's just going to try and link it up. So we went to the pedaling pig. Have you been there in Boone, Marv?
Did you go to the one in Boone or the one in Banner Oak?
We went to the one in Boone.
Yeah, I've been there several times. Yeah.
Okay. I was impressed. I thought the meats were pretty good selection there. I don't know if you've done it more than once, but
yeah, I'm a big barbecue guy. No, it's I think the food's really good. Did you get the pork rind appetizer by any chance?
I didn't get the pork rind. We got the hush puppies, of course. You got to get hush puppies at any place you go. Neil's chiming in. Pig is great. It is. We got the big platter that comes with like every type of meat. So yeah, I was not disappointed at all. I will say, to be fair, the sides didn't blow us away. Like the mac and cheese was pretty good. Baked beans were just kind of normal. Coleslaw kind of normal. There's nothing that's gonna like bring you back for the sides, but the meat was done very well. I had no issue with any of the meat, and they have a bunch of sauces to eat with this. I still have some left over.
Get the pork rinds appetizer that comes with like queso, and when they come out, they're just out of the fryer, so like the pork rinds are still popping when they bring it to you. So you get like you hear it before you taste it. It's pretty good.
Nice. Oh, I will definitely be doing that. Yeah, none of us really had any recommendations because it was all of our first time. So I was like, I wanted them to choose. I said, to be honest, I don't hang out and eat in Boone a lot because we're 3 hours one way and 3 hours back. So there's really not a lot, because we come in and if we try and do something to tailgate, that's our food option. And then we're grabbing something on the way back in a drive-through, right? Most times. So it was fun to kind of go and do something like that I don't typically get to do. And I had a decent game we saw, right? But it was a little chillier than I expected. I'll be honest. I checked the weather before we went up there, Marv. I know your family was a little bit better prepared, but windier, right, than we thought.
Significantly windier. And when that sun went behind the press box on the east side, it got cold pretty quick.
And you'll have to tell us because Seth and I were sitting there talking about it, and I said, I bet they're getting colder faster than anybody because with where your seats are up elevated, that wind's hitting you harder than us down at like almost closer to field level type of situation.
Yeah, I mean, I was fine, but the other people with me were like, "It's cold." They weren't having a good time. So, when your wife and kids aren't having a good time, it's hard for you to have a good time. But no, I mean, it was great the first quarter and a half. But as soon as the sun went behind the press box and you didn't have that bulb on you, it got
Yeah,
chilly.
that makes sense. Makes a lot of sense, and I agree. I was trying to brave it with the shorts, as you saw, but the people are now hearing. But I was shivering. I have to admit, my Boone blanket has long since left me. Right, being off the mountain for so many years, I used to proudly do that when I was, college aged, going to games and be in shorts in 40-degree weather and whatnot. That is not a move that I will mistakenly make much anymore. But yeah, I mean, quick shout out. Don't Sleep Energy still keeping us up and active as we go along throughout the season. Phenom Elite. They are signing some pretty big name high school players. So they will be, moving on up in the ranks of football apparel for sure because of who they are proudly sporting. They're stepping their game up on the videos too. If you see some of their ads, top quality stuff that you would expect to see in like a TV commercial. So be sure to check them out again. Christmas coming up. Dick's Sporting Goods or online for them. Same thing with Don't Sleep. They've got their own website. You can also check out their Amazon store. Before we get into the football, Ben James shouting out the Red Wolves lady volleyball team becoming the 2025 Sun Belt champions and going to the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2015. Yeah, I haven't been keeping up with volleyball as much, but there've been some talented teams in the Sun Belt for volleyball. So good for the Red Wolves to grab that and move on to the NCAA tournament for postseason play. He says, despite Red Wolves' troubles in football right now, it's still Wolves up and go Red Wolves. I'm a Red Wolves fan through thick and thin. Ben, we had no doubts. I don't think even the people that listen and watch the show had any doubts that you were going to be around, win, lose, or draw. So
Here's the big
we love to see it.
Is Ben making an appearance in Boone on Saturday?
Oh yeah, Ben is going to have to let us know that. That's a pretty hefty trip. That's all the way across Tennessee. Yeah, that's a long drive, and if it's a flight, that's probably not the cheapest. I don't know though.
No.
Marv, have you flown around Thanksgiving? Is that like a good time to fly, or is that expensive?
If I did, it was for work and I didn't pay for it, so I didn't pay attention to it.
There you go. I like not paying for flights. That's a win, right?
If I'm working, they pay for it. So yeah, I've definitely flown. Like I've flown home on Christmas Eve before from a work trip. And yeah, I don't recall what it cost. Somebody else paid for it. Just get me
There
home.
you go. Yeah, there you go. Want to be home with the family. Can't blame you there. All right. Enough about all the intro stuff. Let's get into the thick of it. Here are the current standings as they sit now. JMU stays undefeated in conference. Even if they had lost this past weekend, that would have happened, right? Because they were playing Wazoo out of the conference, but they are now 10-1, still ranked in the coaches and AP poll. We'll see if they sneak into the CFP. I think, Tulane will still have the spot above them somewhere, but is JMU now done enough to be in that top 25 regardless of Tulane being ahead of them, right? That's the question. What'd you say?
I said I would hope so. 10-1. I mean, undefeated in conference. It's that's a good football team. If you've got eyeballs and you're paying attention, you can see that.
Yeah, and I know that the common opponent thing is going to come up between North Texas and Wazoo and James Madison. North Texas took down Washington State 59-10 earlier this season. Obviously, James Madison struggled a little bit. They're winning 24-20 in their game, but not the same game, not the same starting quarterback for Washington State. There was also, I believe there was like a missed kick, 2 interceptions, and a fumble or something like that. There was like 5 turnovers in the first half that led to a lot of UNT points. And that's probably not the game that they got in Harrisonburg. Obviously, it's not the game they got in Harrisonburg. So that's why we see a closer game. And keep in mind, this Washington State team has played Ole Miss within 1 score, I believe, and Virginia, who's also been a ranked team earlier this year. And I think Virginia is still ranked, maybe, right? Marv, do you know off the top of your head?
Look, I was looking at the rankings earlier, but I'll have to look.
We'll look that up while you do. But regardless, a pretty quality Virginia team of all things considered. So Yeah, I mean, that's the part that you wanted it to be. It could have been 48-14, and it would have looked a little better, of course. But we know these teams are not the same early in the season as they are now. James,
17th.
17th. Okay, so there you go. So Virginia still ranked 17th. Yeah. And we'll get into some of the scores here, but ODU and Coastal Carolina tied at 5-2. All we already know, James Madison is not only the winner of the East, but also the host of the Sun Belt Championship game. That is 100% official after this weekend. I don't know why it wasn't official earlier than that. I guess the possibility, I don't know. I guess the possibility existed with Southern Miss, but I don't think Southern Miss and James Madison losing still would have, I think James Madison still would have been higher in the rankings. And I believe the first tiebreaker, if I'm not mistaken, is CFP rankings. If someone's ranked in the CFP rankings, that they would get the hosting spot no matter what. And I would believe James Madison would be higher in those rankings, even if they're not well, they would go. I think they then go to the AP and coaches combination.
They're hosting regardless. 2 weeks from now, there will be a game in Harrisonburg.
Yes, exactly. There you go. That's much more elegant way to put it. ODU though, an 8-3 team. So that, only big win that some people were alluding to for James Madison has become bigger and better. ODU is just smashing people recently. So they had a little bit of a downturn in the middle of the season there. They're looking the part yet again. Everybody else is hovering right around 500. Coastal one game above. The rest of the teams below them are one game below, except for Georgia State, still winless in the conference and only 1-10 on the season. ULM, kind of the west side of that, at 1-6 in the conference, just 3-8 overall. Texas State heating up a little bit here towards the end of the season, and now able to make a bowl game, Marv.
We have 6 teams that are coming up this weekend. 6 teams have the ability to make a bowl game. Now, we know that mathematically 2 of them will not, because you have 4 teams that are playing each other. But it looks kind of bleak, but hell, 75% of the conference could be bowl eligible after next weekend.
Yeah, and that would be a positive after what, was a rocky and slow start to the season, I'd say. It didn't look like we'd get 5 teams in, and now we have the opportunity to get quite a bit more. So looking a little bit more promising. We definitely won't have 12 in like we had in the past. But and also there's, again, we have to say the possibility is that you could get 6 wins and still be left out here, right? If it's kind of an unimpressive 6 wins and there's a lot of teams that qualify, there's a chance you get left out. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Anybody who qualifies hopefully will get into a bowl game. It's weird when we've had 12 before, all 12 went, which is almost insane to think about. But Ben wants to know before we move on, glad that rain held off for the game last Thursday despite non-pass interference calls early in the game and mid-game versus the Cajuns. Yeah, we'll talk about that one first. Warren says, where Troy was 2 weeks ago, we are glad to be playing for the West. Yeah, that one, I guess, is a note that we didn't mention just yet, but Southern Miss and Troy, the top 2 teams in the West, both sitting at 5-2 and actually both sitting at 7-4 overall as well, are playing for the West spot for the right to go to Harrisonburg, as Marv mentioned, in just 2 weeks' time. So interesting to see the dichotomy of how both of those teams have kind of ended the season, though, right?
Well, I'm going to say this. If you're a Troy fan, you can thank your other Alabama team for the opportunity, because we'll talk about it here in a second. But South Alabama beating Southern Miss had to be the surprise of the week for everyone.
True. It helps, but honestly, they could have gone in even if Southern Miss had won that game and had a chance, because they could have had the same record and then had the tiebreaker. But yes, that helps even more, right? Now it's clear.
Winner take all. Just go for it.
Kind of makes it more interesting to me. I mean, that's easily and far and away the game of the week as far as I'm concerned, right?
1,000%.
Not playing for a bowl game because they're both already qualified, and I would expect those 2 teams for sure to not have any trouble getting into one. But yeah, it'll be a great final game of the season. Not necessarily a huge rivalry, I wouldn't say, at least not that I'm aware of, but definitely going to be a good one here in this one. Ben James says, of course, Bush Jones always going viral with angry moments. Yeah, he didn't like the finish to that game, and I guess that's be the first one that we get into here. Yeah, Thursday night matchup. The Cajuns travel to Jonesboro and beat the Red Wolves 34-30. This one had fireworks early, kind of, Marv, right?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the final score, like, oh, it's a good football game. At halftime, it was 27-24. Like once again, it seemed like one of those midweek Sun Belt, whoever has the football last wins.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ben, because the team that had the football last lost, and it wasn't by more than the width of your cell phone. It was a heck of a last play in a really good football game. But you're right, Dom. The first half of that, it was just back and forth. Definitely, defenses kind of settled in the second half, but man, just another awesome game to have displayed on national television within our conference.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those ones, unfortunately, that we've our midweek games have been kind of boring. From any kind of outside perspective, people that are probably just changing channels trying to find something to watch. There hasn't been a whole lot that's going to grab them and keep them around with the Sun Belt games in the midweek so far this season. But this one was one you definitely wanted to stick around for. I guess there was one earlier between Southern Miss.
I think there's only been one really bad one. I think we've made the comment that, like, even though the records might not be there, there's been a couple, like especially Tuesday games that if you turn the TV on, you got spoiled with a really good football game despite the record. So I don't know. I feel like most of the midweek games, or the majority at least, have been pretty good representation of the conference.
Yeah, and like you said, it's just kind of a downside that sometimes it's not the teams that are the bigger brands that people are maybe going to hang around for, regardless of how the game's going. The Troy versus ODU one, 33-0, that was a little bit of a
Yeah.
Not going to keep people around. And honestly, like the Southern Miss, Georgia Southern one earlier this season was actually a really good one at the end, but honestly, early on, it looked like it was going to be a blowout. So
That's true.
people may have left that one early. But this one was kind of the opposite, right? Like you just said, had a lot of points scored. That was a back and forth affair in that first half. And like you
if you
said,
turn this on at halftime and you saw the score, and then you watch the second half, you're like, hey, where's the good stuff at?
yeah, no doubt about it. Definitely got under control and kept it there. What I think is weird here, I guess it's not totally shocking with how he plays the game, but Lunch Winfield, 18 of 25, 147 yards, didn't even average 6 yards a pass, which is kind of crazy for quarterback. But no touchdowns, no interceptions, got everything done on the ground. 20 carries for 89 yards and 2 touchdowns. Again, we've seen that kind of thing here. He's even pictured here running into the end zone for one of his 2 touchdowns. But are you surprised the Red Wolves didn't pull another one out at the end, like they've been kind of accustomed to here throughout the season?
They've done a lot of that, and especially at home, yeah, a little bit. I mean, it couldn't have been closer, right? That play came down to did they video review that? They had to have, because it was razor's edge.
They did review it, and I think they just said the play is upheld, that it wasn't a touchdown. I don't think they explained it, as they have not done much this season. I would have said, one, the play wasn't blown dead early enough.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I don't think he was anywhere close, and I think he was probably down, or that somebody had grabbed it when they were probably down, and then all of the chaos happened. And then as he's kind of reaching across the line, I saw even Ben said something about how he had it clearly across the line, and then the Cajun player ripped it out. Well, it's possible, maybe, that he was on top of a defender, but if he wasn't on top of a defender, he was 100% down before he reached the ball across. Either way, I think it was the right call. I don't think it was a touchdown. I think the play should have and could have been blown dead earlier to prevent anything. But still a crazy finish, right? Like, as a viewer, you're kind of like, whoa, wait, maybe they did, But
No,
yeah, I mean,
shout out to Arkansas State players real quick. Jalen Rader, 25 for 43, 256. Once again, he also did not have a touchdown or an interception. And Corey Rucker is still very, very good at football, and you'll be seeing him on Sundays. 8 catches, 120 yards. Didn't get in the end zone, but yeah, just a good football game. And I know we talked about it a little bit, and I don't want to sort of beat down on Arkansas State or Ben, but the announced attendance was 13,000. It's
not even.
It wasn't deer opener. It just, man, like, I think they have a pretty good football team. I think Jalen Raynor and Corey Rucker are two phenomenal players, and not to have the crowd support there is a little ridiculous. Do better.
Yeah, I agree. Once again, you've got a team that was playing for the right to go to a bowl game and kind of almost assure that, right, with a win, and didn't get it done. But like I said, it came down to the very last play yet again. I mean, that's the thing. Maybe you're not the best team in the conference, okay, but they are proving to be must-watch television because you can never count them out of games. So I don't know why you don't go watch something like that. Again, it's not always the best football, but if you're seeing entertaining endings and scores going back and forth, to me, that's worth my entertainment dollars, right? Like, that's what I want to see. It doesn't have to be NFL quality every single time. Like, sometimes you just want to see a close game. If it's not 3-3, I'm okay with something like 34-30. That's enough points and enough back and forth to keep me interested and entertained. So, any final notes on that one before we move on, Ben? Noting that the box seats were full apparently.
But. I mean, listen, Arkansas State comes to Boone with a chance. Both 5 and 6 are, still playing for postseason eligibility. So it's going to be cold in Boone on Saturday. Hope they're ready for it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there, but maybe not winning you're in, but likely winning you're in. So at least to claim that you are eligible for sure.
Yes,
so
you're playing. Here's one thing I can guarantee you: if you lose, you're done. That's the only guarantee.
There you go. Well, actually, that's also weird, right? Like,
probably,
but if not enough teams qualify, you could grab a fight. But yeah, we've seen that it's not likely that anybody, gets grabbed with only 5 wins. He says he'll be watching that one from home. So, okay, that makes sense. That's a long journey. It's right around Thanksgiving, so I'm not going to give you any grief for that one, Ben. Enjoy it from the comforts of home. Again, as Marv said, likely to be pretty cold in Boone. Also cold in Boone for this one, as we were both at. App State escapes is what I'm going to say here. 26-24 over the Marshall Thundering Herd. Marv, what did you see that stuck out to you in this one?
I saw Marshall jump out to a very big lead, and then App finally got the run game going. The man pictured here, Trig Lewis, 33 carries, 175 yards, 2 touchdowns. App had been really struggling to run the football up until this game and really second quarter on. And then it was just a series of couple of late turnovers for Marshall. I mean, that game went back and forth for a little while. I think it was 21-9 at one point. App scores a touchdown right before halftime, scores a touchdown coming out of halftime to take the lead. And then both teams had chances to put the game away and just could never do it. And then it came down to a fumble with like 50 seconds left on Marshall's final drive. But just a game with 2 teams that nobody could put their foot on their opponent's throat in the game. Marshall, they had the chance early. App battles back. And just a good game. And, man, I'm tired of watching these close games at home. I wish we'd just blow somebody out.
But for the entertainment value, like I said earlier, it's not bad. I was surprised. We gave grief to Ben about the attendance for A-State. We'll make him take ownership of that. I'll take ownership of App fans leaving early in a close game. I know, Marv, you have a little different situation. I saw like whole groups of people in large numbers getting up and leaving, and most of them did so in the third quarter when I believe the exact score was 24-23. Yeah, that's what it was. 24-23, end of the third quarter, people were bouncing out. I'm like, why are you leaving this game right now? Like, nobody knows who's going to win. We got a whole quarter of football left, and it's a not only one score, a literal 1-point game at that point. And that was due to the questionable 2-point attempt that App State went for early in the game, which I still don't understand. It could have come back to bite them, but luckily did not in this case.
Well, I mean, we saw Georgia Southern do it to us 2 weeks ago, and it was kind of one of those, like, I get it. You're trying to be aggressive, right? But, like, mathematically, that just doesn't make sense at this point. You're right. It could have come back to bite us in the butt. But, I mean, look, listen, it wasn't cold. Like, people leaving, and I'm one of them, with wife and kids. Like, could we have stayed? Yep. Sure could have. It wasn't that cold. No one was going to die of hypothermia, but
Right.
I don't know if it's just a microcosm of the season where it's just like, we're going to head on out of here. But hey, listen, they get the win. They get to play at home, 2 days after Thanksgiving for a chance to go to a bowl game. Pretty good stuff. And Trig Lewis, man, I super impressed. I think it's kind of been coming. We've once again been super struggling to run the football for a while. He looked dominant, which we needed because other than that, we were pretty pedestrian on offense.
Yeah. I was going to say that was the next note for me, is very pedestrian on offense. JJ Cole actually was probably better than I thought, like visually. 19 of 27, 134 yards on a touchdown. No interceptions. Okay, so not bad there. He did lose 16 yards due to sacks on the day, so negative 16 in the rushing category. We knew JJ wasn't going to be the rusher, even though he was the third leading rusher on the team coming into this game, which statistically is a shock. But yeah, Jakari Lewis, or Trig Lewis, as they started even calling him on the field announcement, right? Like I was like, what are they saying for him? I hadn't heard his name said besides Jakari Lewis all season until yesterday, or 2 days ago, I guess now. No, I guess that was yesterday. Man, I'm getting lost in my days. Anyways, no doubt that he was the leading rusher, as you mentioned, with those stat lines. He was also technically tied for the lead in receiving with 39 yards, along with Sam Mbake. Sam actually had 7 receptions to Lewis's just 5, but again, more yards per average catch on those ones. So yeah, he was literally doing it all. Actually left the game with what looked like a kind of ugly neck injury as he kind of so there was some concern there. Looks like Dominick had been banged up, so it's like, okay, who's about to be our running back? But luckily for the team and for himself, Lewis came back and absolutely 110% looked the part and got the job done. CDRW, Carlos Del Rio Wilson for Marshall, did get banged up and leave this game early, which could have played a large part in the ending of this game as Zion Turner came in. Actually was 8 for 9 for 54 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, because he honestly wasn't having to do a whole lot. He did run the ball a few times for three times exactly for 16 yards. So not looking too bad there, and pretty elusive.
Yeah, not a huge drop off, to be completely honest with you.
No,
and it's small sample size, right?
Yes.
Not trying to take anything away from Carlos Del Rio Wilson, because I think he's a really good quarterback. But I'm sure you want to get to it. Joshawn Barbie, 10 carries, 102 yards and a touchdown. Del Rio Wilson did have 2 touchdowns, and then DeMarcus Lacey, 12 catches, 134 yards, didn't get in the end zone. But listen, the Marshall offense looked good, and they just look controlled. Just the 3 turnovers kill them.
Exactly. Yeah, that was the biggest turning point in here, and that's how App ended up winning the game, I'd say. I mean, technically they knelt it out, but that was due to that turnover right around midfield, I believe that kind of happened at.
Yes.
So, yeah, a tough one for Marshall fans to swallow, because they could have locked up a bowl berth there. App is going to be playing for theirs. Shout out again to Russ for bringing me my the shirt. This is the fountain ceremony shirt, I believe is kind of what they reference this long sleeve Nike shirt. Very nice. Got the interlocking M logo. It's got a little spot with the fountain on it on the back.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a very quality shirt. And I told him, like, man, when I saw it and they were showing it off on the Thundercast pregame from their tailgate spot there at the parking lot, I was like, I need to have one of those. That thing looks sharp. I really like it. And then luckily enough for us, Marshall was playing us within a 2 or 3 weeks time since that happened. So lucky to meet up with him and his wife, go out to dinner, have a good time. Obviously they didn't enjoy the game quite as much, but at least it was entertaining. Yet again, a 2-point game that came down to the final couple minutes there before we knew who was going to move on with the victory in that one. In one that was also really close and up for the last final minutes, James Madison also escapes a tough game against Washington State, 24-20. They had the Marvel superhero game. If you want to. Yeah, I don't really know. I saw a lot of people questioning, what did this have to do with anything? Well, look,
it doesn't matter. It was cool.
It doesn't matter. Kids love it, right? And it's an opportunity, I'm sure, for the school to make money. This is the first ever collaboration between any collegiate program and Marvel. So, yeah, it's a pretty big deal that they chose a Sunbelt school and James Madison specifically to do the first ever partnership with. So, yeah, that's one side of their helmet was theirs. The other side had a different or select Marvel superhero, if you will. And, I think a lot of fans had fun with it. From what I saw, there's a lot of people dressed up in superhero outfits. I believe JMU really played into this before the game happened. Like, do dress up, do have fun with this. I'm sure there was stuff throughout the game. I did not obviously go to this one, so I can't tell you for a fact, but I'm sure they played into it pretty well there. I would have liked to have seen JMU win by more for a margin of victory for the argument that everybody's going to make, like we alluded to earlier. But the most important thing is they get the victory and win this one, right?
Yeah, win's a win, and thank God for Wayne Knight. So back and forth game, right? JMU takes the lead 10-3 in the second quarter with 13:27 to go in the second quarter, so super early. They don't ever get the lead back until there's 6 minutes left to go in the game. When Wayne Knight runs for a 58-yard touchdown, he ends up, I think, with 3 touchdowns on the day. I didn't get to watch much of this game at all. Obviously, we were at Kid Brewer, but Barnett, not a super efficient game passing, 9 for 18 for 144, touchdown and a pick, 7 carries for 32 yards. But no, Wayne Knight only had 1 touchdown. I apologize.
Yeah.
15 carries for 126 yards and a touchdown, including the 58-yarder late in the fourth quarter to win the game. But, you can say what you want. Yes, there's going to be, like you said, the commonality of North Texas played the same team and blew them out of the water. Dude, they're 10-1. I think the resume speaks for itself. It's going to come down to them, Tulane and North Texas, to see who gets to represent the Group of 5 in the playoff. But it would be cool to see them have a college football playoff ranking next to their name, regardless, this week.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the one thing I'm hoping for. That makes the argument attainable, right? I think if you say, if we see as fans Tulane ranked in there and still no JMU, no sign of JMU, you can't make the argument that any slight slip up could have those teams flip. I still think it's going to take, unfortunately, for JMU fans and some of us just kind of rooting for a team from the Sun Belt to make it, to kind of establish the argument that we've been trying to make is the American is not light years or any kind of like big time jump from the Sun Belt. In fact, until this season, I would have made the argument over the past 2 years that the Sun Belt was actually better from top to bottom. Now, I'm not saying the best team there would not lose to the best team in the Sun Belt. Possible. What I am saying is, from top to bottom as a whole league, I think the Sun Belt has been better. This year, certainly you can make the argument the American could be better from top to bottom. Sure. But I still think like our best team could compete with anybody in the American, and people that have done the background work and analytics on some of this stuff actually have found out that JMU would be favored against any American team on any neutral site field. So there is, that's a Vegas aspect. That doesn't mean that they're saying they would win necessarily, but they're alluding to the fact.
Here's the other thing, though. So in both the AP and the coaches polls, which have already come out today, JMU is 20 and it's 20 in AP, 21 in coaches, but North Texas and Tulane are behind them in both of those polls. And in orders, JMU, North Texas, Tulane, so 20, 21, 22, or 21, 22, 23, depending on the poll. So the AP and the coaches see it. It'll be interesting to see what the college football playoff does.
Yeah. And see, this is why I don't like the college football playoff not truly having to explain their procedure, because now they're almost stuck and admitting, yeah, that's true, money. But they're almost stuck in admitting that they were wrong if they want JMU to be the team now. Oh, they've done enough now. Well, what are you going to tell the Tulane fans? Well, you won and they won. Well, Tulane won more comfortably than JMU this week. How do you say that, all of a sudden
we like their helmets better, so we're going to move them up. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. It's just it's not a lot of fun to see what they think of you, because that's what we see, right? Like they just don't think JMU is very good. as far as, supplanting, a Tulane team, right? But I don't think Tulane should have ever been ahead of James Madison, if you ask me. I think that really bad loss should matter. They say, oh, well, wins matter too. Of course they do. But you should also be punished for bad losses, of which, to me, James Madison doesn't have one, right? They have a loss. It's not a bad one, and it's also not the same team.
No, you're right.
But,
Tuesday night comes out. Either they're going to stick to their guns or they're going to have some explaining to do, which they're not. Yeah. They're not going to explain anything to anybody.
No, they rarely ever do. And again, I'll give them at least some credit for sure if they at least put two teams from the group of 5, group of 6, whatever, into the rankings, because I think that's something I don't think they'll do. But
would they do 3? Would they do 3? Would they follow suit and say 23, 24, 25?
I can't see them doing it. I don't honestly think it's beyond them to put 2 in. But I don't think it's wrong to put 2 in, right? That's what I want to see, because I think it's reasonable and realistic to do that. But I don't think they will do it from what they've already kind of shown us. We'll see if that, plays out. It would be interesting. Oops, I went a little too fast there. ODU
Nothing to see here.
Absolutely hammered. Yeah, there won't be a ton to talk about, unfortunately, for Georgia Southern fans. This was senior day for Clay Helton and the Eagles down there in Statesboro, Georgia. ODU traveled down and looked like the only team that was awake to participate in this game. Those 10 points for Georgia Southern all came later in the second half. Field goal in the third quarter, but the touchdown later in the fourth. Colton Joseph, superstar, of course.
He's very fast.
Very fast. Marv, why don't you tell him how many yards he had on the ground against the Eagles in this one?
189 yards. Also threw for 140, and a touchdown passing and a touchdown running. But 189 yards. It was 38-0 at one point, like you said, kind of garbage touchdown. Quick question: is Turner Helton, is that Clay's son?
It is, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Hey, senior day, right? Comes in 9 for 16, 49 yards and a touchdown. JC French, 16 for 24, 147 and a touchdown. But Colton Joseph ran for 189, and the game was never close, never in contention. It was as a butt whooping.
Yeah, like you said, only threw for 140. But to mention, people talked about, him. And we're some of them, kind of coming along as a passer, not just a runner. Yeah, he didn't throw for a whole 80 yards. He didn't have to, right? 189 in yard, 12 of 18. So his accuracy was actually still really, really good as well. Just didn't have to throw it very much. And why would you, right? When you're having so much success on the ground, you don't really have to throw it. Traquan Jones, 73 yards as the second leading rusher. So
they had 375 yards rushing the football. Just absolute dominance. I mean, there's really not much you can say. The total offense was 551 for ODU to 249 for Georgia Southern, and Georgia Southern didn't turn the ball over a whole bunch either. It was just ODU got the ball. They were efficient on third downs. They scored, and they didn't allow Georgia Southern to move the ball.
Absolutely. I did see some Southern fans questioning between J.C. French, Helton, and Brian. Brian's kind of been that second-string quarterback and gotten the ball more after French has either gone down or gone out of the game. You got to just assume that, like you said, the Helton thing is because it's senior day and it's his dad's the coach. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's a little daddy ball going on down there. I don't know.
I'm just concerned here maybe with the rushing offense of Georgia Southern after we saw O.J. Arnold have one hell of a game the other week. He went 3 carries, 1 yard. I would assume he probably didn't even stay healthy for that game. I didn't see that technically he was out. So maybe not. Maybe ODU just completely shut him down. But just as a team, they didn't even rush for 50 yards total as a team against this ODU team. So,
well, hey, listen, sets up a big game. Georgia Southern and Marshall, 2 5-6 teams fighting for bowl eligibility next week.
Yeah, that's going to be one not to miss. That's for sure. As far as them fighting to the very end to see who can come out on top and possibly get to that extra game. Southern Miss looked like they, maybe had a little comeback in them because this one was ugly early in favor of South Alabama, who does win this one 42-35, but Southern Miss not going away, trying to come back there just a little too late, right?
I mean, they were down too big, 35-7. They got a touchdown to make it 35-14 with 3 minutes to go in the third quarter. Now, give them credit; they didn't stop, right? They fought, like you said, but just a little bit too late. Braylon Braxton had a phenomenal game. If you look at it statistically, right? 31 for 52 for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. Just playing behind, you got to get desperate and throw the football. And when you find yourself in that big of a hole, but I don't know about you, Dom. This was certainly the surprise of the week in the conference for me.
Definitely surprise in a regard when you heard Braxton was gonna play, right? Like if he had been out, then I would have
100%
thought more along the lines. But to see South Alabama come off the top is definitely a little bit of a surprise. However, history favors the Jags in this matchup. Southern Miss 0-5 coming in against the Jags all time. Obviously now 0-6. So very interesting and surprising statistic for those who haven't seen that. That's kind of something that is kind of a weird thing that's at play there. But again, Braylon Braxton came in probably not fully healthy, had a slow start to this one, but came on strong in the end. As bad as it is that they lost this one for them, they still have a shot at literally just about everything they want. They have a shot at a West title, conference championship game. They're obviously going to go to a bowl game. Braxton coming on strong towards the end is good for them going into the Troy matchup. So that'll be something to build on, not the ending they want here in this one or towards the end of the season to drop to like this. But, you still have the promise of a pretty good quarterback behind you who could definitely get the job done. But we'll talk about the other side of that here in just a minute. Bishop Davenport, 20 of 23, extremely accurate game. Only throws 151 total yards, no touchdowns, but also no interceptions to note there. Did rush just for 15 yards, but he had 2 touchdowns. So that's where he was helping you there. But tell him about Kentrell Bullock, Marv.
He had a Colton Joseph style game, right? 23 carries, 187 yards, 3 touchdowns with a longest 64. And then that was kind of the story of the game of why they were able to put Southern Miss away is they ran the ball for 263 yards and absolutely dominated time of possession. So when, once again, Braxton with the 400 yards, it looks really nice, but it's because they were down big and they hadn't had the ball a lot. And when they made the comeback, they had to get it through the air because I think Southern Miss had like 45 total yards rushing, which was a little surprising. But, phenomenal day for Kentrell Bullock, 187, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the one I got pictured here. I think that's him there. Looking the part as he's running towards the end zone. I like those uniforms too, by the way. The red, white, and blue on the helmet, the blue uni, the red pants, white cleats, sharp looking look there in that one for the Jags wrapping up their they're wrapping up their home slate.
Thing for Southern Miss and South Alabama. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, I did confirm that was wrapped up their home slate. They finish on the road at Texas State this coming weekend. Okay, in a game that really didn't surprise, but there were some weird statistical things in this one. But Troy wins this game 31-19 against the Panthers. I'm not necessarily surprised, obviously, in this one, but there were some things to note. I mean, Goose Crowder looks like the Goose Crowder that we were going to see to start the year, right, Marv?
Yeah, 27 of 43 for 361 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks, and a reason why I hate QBRs because that was a QBR of 53.3. Dude had a phenomenal game. That's a 87.3 in my opinion.
Yeah, that's insane. That is.
I guess it's the
QBR thing. We've talked about it.
And then DJ Epps 8 catches for 103 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ethan Connor says, "Hey man, great game. I can play pretty well too. 3 catches, 85 yards, 2 touchdowns. Only 1 catch doesn't go for a touchdown. So pretty good game by both of those guys. But yeah, that doesn't surprise us. I mean, listen, Georgia State 1-10. I think they're probably having a worse season than what most people anticipated. Got
Yeah.
ODU. They have ODU next week to close it out. They're probably staring 1-11 in the face. Yeah, and then obviously we talked about what Troy has. Troy's got an opportunity to go to a championship game, which is you can't write the story any better, right? Like, hey, last week of the season, you're going to have a chance to win a football game and go play for a conference championship, and them Southern Miss have that opportunity. So pretty cool.
Yeah. Here's some of the weird statistical anomalies in this one. Troy wins this game 31-19, right?
Yep.
Georgia State has 26 first downs to Troy's 19. They have 516 yards to Troy's 423. They do pass for about the exact same amount of yardage, but Panthers outrushed the Trojans 156-62. So that's almost 100 more yards on the ground. So what's the difference, right? Turnovers? No, each had 1. Penalties, right? No, each had 5. Now, Troy actually had more penalty yardage in this one. Here's the biggest difference that made it, because you're thinking, man, like statistically, this should favor the Panthers, right? Like everything I've just read is pretty equal or favoring the Panthers, but they were just 3 of 14 on third down and 0 for 4 on fourth down, just not able to get it done. Also to note, and I'm going to get your thoughts on that too, Marv. TJ Finley not only did not play in this game, was not dressed or seen on the sidelines at all for the Georgia State Panthers. And then you see Christian Veyer, who was the quarterback last season, come in and get most of the play due to Cameron Brown, I guess, just not getting it done early on in the game. Maybe got banged up before he was replaced. But that is an interesting note because, TJ Finley was brought in a little bit late to this season, became the starter and somebody they would oftentimes go back to. Now possibly not even on the roster moving forward as well. So just
was there injury, or do you think he's just gone?
All I saw was a report that said not only is he not out here, he doesn't seem to be anywhere that anybody heard or saw. So not sure. We'll probably just continue following that story and see what we can make of it.
All right. Well, yeah. Was Hurst not playing either?
I got to check on that. I was surprised not to see his name anywhere, but you're right. Not a single reception on the day.
Yeah, I mean, Javion Robinson, 7 for 142 and a touchdown. Those are typically Ted Hurst type numbers. But yeah, very interesting to see. But you're right. But if you look at the stats, they are pretty darn close. The one that you pointed out, 3 for 14 on third downs, 0 for 4. If you flip that around for Troy, it was 11 for 20. So yeah, it was the little things that win the football games.
Yeah, Warren noting it was even till late with the touchdowns, and then the defense, held. I love that helmet, by the way, Warren. You're using in your picture. We got it here with the guy making the catch as well. Epps making the catch there, I believe. No, that's Connor. Sorry, that's Ethan Connor making the crowd. Crowd was a big disappointment. One more time, Marv.
It was a 5-point game. Yeah. With 9 minutes to go, Troy gets a DJ Epps 35-yard touchdown pass from Goose with 6:25 to go. But yeah, it wasn't a good football game. A little bit closer than what I would have anticipated.
Yeah. And again, Warren talking about that crowd and
20,000, 40 feet, 243 was the announced attendance. We know how that can go.
Yeah, I'm guessing it wasn't even close to that, unfortunately. But a sad thing, right? Because Troy's been up there at dominating the conference for a little bit as far as championships are concerned, and not much of a fall off this year, right? We just talked about them already in bowl game position, and we'll see what happens.
Championship. I mean,
after
winning a couple in a row, so. Yeah, a little disappointing. Don't know what to say about it.
Well, here you go. More disappointing the showing that Coastal Carolina had against South Carolina. This was a game a couple weeks ago. People started talking about, ooh, Coastal could beat South Carolina, right? South Carolina's down, not very good. Coastal's kind of coming up. They've got their quarterback. They're finally looking the part that they want to. South Carolina then plays Texas A&M really close because they probably should have won that game, right?
A 31-point lead at one point in that game, if I'm not mistaken.
Is 30-something. Yeah, I think so. And just insane to let them come back and win that. So that was probably going to be playing to South Carolina's advantage, honestly, in that one. And then you have Coastal's starting quarterback get hurt, and Tad Hudson has to come back. Then after this game's over, actually, we find out that Beck had suspended a few defensive players. So that's not going to help you. But we don't really know that going in necessarily unless you were, aware of that, seeing some guys not dressed or something. I did not see this one coming. I did not think Coastal would win this game after hearing Collier was out.
Yeah.
Collier was out, but I did think they'd put up a fight, and they did not. This game was over quickly. It was 37-0 at the half, I think.
37-0. Gosh, it was it was 44-0 before they scored. Coastal scored, yeah. For South Carolina, if you had the last name Sellers, you had a really good day. It was just too much of that. So Lenore Sellers, 16 of 20 passing, 272 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also runs for 82 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then Jaden Sellers, I don't know if they're related. I don't follow Gamecock football like that, but let's just assume that they are. He had 4 catches for 127 yards and a touchdown as well. But yeah, just you would have thought coming into this game that, yes, South Carolina's down. You would have thought that Coastal's on the come up, all the stuff that you just mentioned. But I think the boys from Columbia were a little pissed off about the way that the last game ended and came out and just kicked the crap out of them.
Yeah, they absolutely did. You can go through every rush and receiving attempt. The Coastal Carolina Chanticleers didn't have a play longer than 20 yards all day, and most of them were below 10. So
and
you're
honestly,
not going to win football games.
You see a score like that, you think, oh, man, they turned the ball over 3 or 4 times. They didn't. They turned the ball over once. It wasn't super sloppy. It was just we're bigger, stronger, and faster than you, and we have more depth, and we're just going to do whatever we want to do with you.
And then they did, claiming that 51-7 victory. This is the year that the Sun Belt's been down, and then obviously, as we spoke about before, it's just too many things going against Coastal going into this one. Knowing what we know now, I don't think even a full-strength Coastal would have won this game, but I do think they probably would have competed better and put up more than 7 points.
Hey, let this be a lesson to all the Sun Belt fan bases. South Carolina is not having a great year. They're not. 78,452 people in attendance for the game.
So even if that was a lie by 20,000, that's still amazing.
Yeah, that's how you stay loyal to your team.
Yeah, there you go. Definitely stay loyal to your team, just like fan favorite Ben James. And we'll see if Texas State will stay loyal as they move on to the Pac-12 or Pac-8 or Pac whatever the hell number you're going to put after it. But as they're wrapping up their Sun Belt tenure, starting to get those wins that were eluding them earlier in the year, it helps when you play a team like ULM, who's kind of down and out, a la Georgia State on the other side of the bracket there. But Texas State gets this victory over the Warhawks, 31-14. Marv, what do you see out of Texas State, who's now going to be playing for their bowl eligibility in the last week of the season as well?
Yeah, Brad Jackson, phenomenal game, 25 for 32 passing, 201 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did throw a pick, but he also ran 15 times for 88 yards and another 2 touchdowns. Man, Texas State's been in so many close games this year. Right? We've talked about it week after week of, had they have won 40% of those, what could their season look like? They have a chance to win a game next week and go play in a bowl game. So as their parting present from the Sun Belt to the Pac unknown, they theoretically they have South Alabama, who is not playing to play in a bowl game, but obviously just beat Southern Miss. They beat South Alabama. They are eligible for a bowl game. So kind of crazy to say that after how It didn't look like that was going to be a possibility at points during the season for them.
No, not at all. Not one bit. It's just unfortunate for ULM that had that good start to last season, and then they kind of fell apart towards the end, and then they didn't start terrible this season, but they had some games that, there were big ones that they dropped. So you're saying, okay, well, once they get into conference slate, maybe they'll be more competitive and win more games, and then they just haven't been able to do it. So ULM stays in the basement.
They've lost 7 games in a row.
Yeah, it's been rough for sure. Shout out Bo Sparks, 10 receptions, 68 yards, and a touchdown as well. Lincoln Perry, 19 carries, 76 yards. Didn't find the end zone in that one. It's Texas State, to me, has got those like smaller, quicker guys on offense, which helps put the points on the board. It's the defense that, again, has been the inconsistent and the problem for the most part, but they seem to have turned at least enough of a corner here, like we said, to start getting some victories towards the end of the season here. All right, that wraps up this past week's action. Quick look, like you said, at next week. Arkansas State, App State playing for bowl eligibility in Boone on that one. That is the return of Jalen Rayner to the state of North Carolina. That's from Kernersville. Yep. There you go. So
you can still come on home, buddy. We forgive you.
There you go. Yeah. And to note, there's a Western Carolina quarterback who has now confirmed he plans to enter the transfer portal. So we'll see, if App State shows some interest in a undersized.
It's not just App State. Like, let's be honest. In the next couple of weeks, when some of these teams start to, find out they're not bowl eligible or whatever it is, the silly season begins, and it's time for those posts of after talking to my parents and playing really hard, it's figured out that it's best for me to try to get some more money somewhere else. We're going to see a bunch of that here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, please respect my decision announcement.
Want to give so and so coaching staff and the fans all the credit. Blah 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 blah. Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of ridiculous there. Georgia Southern plays Marshall. All these games are on ESPN Plus, except for James Madison and Coastal Carolina, elevated to ESPNU. So obviously the eyes. I did say, was there a little bit of a conspiracy theory last week, Marv? Hear me out here. We talked about this in the college football roundtable that has been on Fridays. I don't know when we're going to do it this week. Or if we will, because of the Thanksgiving holiday. But regardless, they asked me if there was some kind of like thing to keep JMU, down and out. And I said, well, if you want to look at conspiracy theories, you can talk about them not only not getting college game day, which is fine. Okay. Everyone got over that quite quickly, I think. But then you have a game against Washington State that probably could have and should have been elevated to give those eyes from the national media a better attention, let these people see this team play. No, they hid that on ESPN Plus, which, let's be honest, those people, for the most part, aren't going to go find that. They're going to watch highlights and they're going to look at stat lines. And that's not going to give you necessarily an accurate representation of what that game truly looked like. So that's kind of the downside to having the ESPN Plus platform be such a large thing for our conference. But this one, luckily, at least will get in front of some of the viewers. I know JMU fans.
Slot is 3:45 slot. Weird slot, right? But heck, most of the Sunbelt games this week are 1:30, 2:30. Like, there's your traditional kickoff times, right? Like 12, 3:30, 7:30. Bunch of weird ones here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And JMU fans are telling me, or have heard, that they are planning to come in large numbers down to Coastal Carolina next week to, beat a team and continue beating a team that they've never lost to. So we'll see if Coastal can, get some guys healthy and get some guys back on the team, but we'll see.
Vegas really likes James Madison. It's open up at a 21.5 point spread.
I think that's fairly accurate, honestly. I mean, do you have a problem with any of that?
Until I know who's going to start a quarterback for Coastal, no. If it's the way it was last week, that's accurate. But if they got their guy back, that's a lot.
Yeah, and it sounds like he could be back for like more of bowl game situation. It does not sound like whatever's going on, he's going to be back this coming. But hey, guess what? They also said Barnett wasn't going to be healthy at the start of the season. We do agree that he wasn't fully healthy, but he
Yeah.
did play in every game. So, it's not impossible that he could come back early. Who knows with modern medicine and what they are capable of. You mentioned Georgia State, ODU. We've got the Battle of Louisiana. That is until La Tech makes their way into the conference. But next week, we've got ULM and Louisiana. That one's always going to mean something down there in Cajun country. That one at Cajun Field there. Texas State.
Yeah, no, Louisiana's got a chance to become bowl eligible at 6-6. So that still means something as well.
Yeah. Also, like you said, how JMU was favored, the Cajuns favored by 11.5 points in that one. But that's truly one of those ones. Throw all that crap out the window in that matchup. It always kind of surprises and scares somebody at the very least, if not just outright upset happens. So keep your eyes on that one for sure. South Alabama, Texas State, we mentioned. But since we already talked about James Madison and Coastal, the game of the week has to be Troy and Southern Miss, right?
No, I mean, everything else that you need to know about what's going to happen in this conference, except for who represents the West. That is the game that decides that. So, yes, game of the week for sure. Hell, I would have been okay with that getting an ESPN ticket. Not to take anything away from James Madison. Like, if JMU makes the playoffs, all of these teams make a lot of money. So we want them to do that. It helps the conference significantly. But that Troy Southern Miss game is a big game as well. It deserves a bigger platform than the ESPN Plus, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because it'll give you a better representation of what James Madison's going to be up against in that conference championship, which could still mean so much if you need Tulane to lose the American if they make it. I don't think they're assured yet. I'd have to double check. I haven't been keeping up with it.
Let's see. I'm going to look at the standings really quick.
Well, while you do that, I'll do my little speech like you just did. But,
Tulane and North Texas very easily could end up playing each other. And in the conference. So one of those two would theoretically eliminate the other one.
The problem would be
whoever wins that game probably gets it no matter what.
Exactly. And the reason for that is you're going to tell people Tulane's ranked ahead of AMU in the CFP, if that holds true, which we expect it to at some point. And then UNT would have a win over a CFP ranked team in a conference championship game, and James Madison is going to play a team that's not thought of that highly.
All right. So
that's why we need to work to get the respect before all of this happens.
All right. So here's what needs to happen. This is just me spitballing here. Obviously, JMU has got to win. Has got to beat. They got to win the rest of their games. They got to be coastal. They got to. That's the only thing that matters. They got to do that. So North Texas plays Temple next week, and then who does Tulane play? Because you also have Navy at 6-1 in the American, so they could throw a wrench in things here. Let's see.
I believe Tulane has the tiebreaker over Navy.
All right, so Tulane plays UNC Charlotte this weekend. Yeah. So you assume that Tulane's going to roll, and then Navy. Who does Navy have? I'm really going the extra mile here about a conference I do not care about. I'm trying to figure out who plays who and why. Navy.
I had that somewhere.
Navy plays Memphis. And then they'll obviously get the Army game at the end. So Memphis is no slouch. So, man, that's probably worst case scenario, right, for JMU would be if North Texas and Tulane both win and play each other in the conference championship. Because you're right, whoever wins that game probably gets the bid.
Yeah. And just to note, the Navy Army game would not count for anything if Navy is included. That is done after what they would decide for CFP rankings. So that game will be played no matter what, obviously, but it will not count towards helping or hurting Navy whatsoever. I don't necessarily see, Navy.
I don't think Navy's going to come into the equation here, no. But what it really seems like JMU needs is, obviously, they need to win, but you need North Texas to lose. And for Navy to go and beat Tulane in the AAC championship game. It's kind of what you.
But then you can make the argument that Navy would then jump. Possibly.
I don't know. Possibly. Yeah. I think that would be too far. Too far of a reach.
Yeah. There's a number of scenarios. The other thing that's hurting JMU, didn't have a big victory over Washington State. What could have happened if Southern Miss had kept winning and Coastal had kept winning? You would have strengthened your resume towards the end of the season by, if Coastal could have taken down South Carolina, you build your resume further with JMU beating Coastal after that, possibly. Same thing with Southern Miss. If they rolled to the Conference West title, and then they came in as a one-loss conference team, or I think they were undefeated before these last two games. So if they were undefeated on the West side coming into the conference game and only had out-of-conference losses, you would have built JMU's resume even more. That even if these other teams didn't lose necessarily, if they had some ugly wins or something, you could have maybe made the argument. But again, that's not going to happen now, so we already know that. But I will agree with you, Marv. There's a reason we do this show is to cover the whole conference. We want the conference to come up. We want more respect, prestige. We want our team to be ranked within CFP for the reasons that the American currently is, which is brand and recognition over years of hard work in the background. We don't have that, but we need a team to make some noise to start getting that. Because we get a team in, now no one can talk about the fact that Sunbelt's below. We've proven that we're in and we can compete. Even if it's just one team, like Marv said, it's about the money too, right? JMU doesn't just get paid money. Every single team in the Sunbelt Conference gets a payout from making the college football championship. So you may hate JMU, and we hope you do, right? That's what makes this conference fun. A little bit of hate and disrespect when we're going to play each other. Don't cross a line. But at the same time, we kind of need this team to make it. I'm going to be a JMU fan. I know that people, say that's weird, right? My fandom has changed greatly from just diehard App State fan. I still want to see my team win all the time, but I also want to see this conference come a lot higher and be further along than it currently is. And doing that includes any team from our conference making the CFP. It just so happens that it's James Madison this year.
Yeah, two comments. Number one, not hard for me as an App fan to pull for JMU against Coastal, and also not hard for me to pull for any team in the East against somebody from the West in a conference championship game, except for Georgia Southern. True. Can't do that. Number two, talking about this.
That's the line you won't cross. Huh?
That can't happen. And then talking about the disbursement of money. Everybody, it's a significant pay to every school except for you, Texas State. You're leaving us. We're not giving you a dime. Go. Just get out of here.
It is interesting, like if they would try and do something about that. But that is an interesting thing.
Offset the cost for us leaving the conference, but no soup for you.
No soup for you. Yeah, Warren saying Southern Miss losses have cost the Sun Belt Conference big time. Yeah, I mean, again, if you needed a resume builder towards the end of the season, Southern Miss was going to be your best bet for JMU to beat them. But again, had Southern Miss not lost, then you're going to look at a conference championship game that JMU could also very likely lose too. If Southern Miss had not lost, that's going to be one hell of a game. So, you could have still played yourself out. So it may still work itself out. It's just an interesting dynamic. A lot of the things that could have happened now can't, and there's still a whole lot of other things on the table that could happen, and they could find themselves exactly where they want.
Yeah, we just JMU just got to take care of what's in front of them and let the chips lay where they may, and see what happens. But man, kind of hard to believe. Like we do the wrap one more time next week for the full slate. Obviously, we'll continue doing it after that. Last week of conference, and how weird is it that this is supposed to be hate week, and a lot of the natural rivals aren't actually playing each other this week?
No, we got really the Battle of Louisiana.
Yeah,
it's really the only rivalry game of any sort really in the Sun Belt this week. It's very, very strange. Very, very strange.
Very strange, but hey, kudos to whoever decided to do that. It still worked out. There's still a lot of drama here at the end. There's still a lot to play for a lot of teams. Like we mentioned, there's 6 teams that can clinch bowl eligibility. You got a team fighting for a spot in the college football playoff, and you got 2 teams that are playing a de facto conference championship game. So still worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I'd say so. Marv, any other last tidbits before we say goodbye to the good people?
No, that's it, man. Just
Yeah.
can't believe
Obviously, we'll do a little preview show in case you're not going to join us for that because it gets crazy with family and friends. I think Marv and I will both agree to tell you happy Thanksgiving, be safe, enjoy the holidays, and certainly enjoy the football this weekend. But again, we'll have some type of preview show for you Wednesday for sure. So check us out for that. And until next time, we'll see you later.
See you.